Hello and welcome to this YourTown, Georgina Spotlight episode. In this straight-to-the-point format, our guest, their organization, and their message is the star of the show. Thanks so much for joining us, and hello, Ben. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. So Ben and I were out late last night at an event downtown, and I obviously see you got home safe and sound. I'm curious, did you get some sleep?
Got some sleep. Kids were up early as usual, so I knew sleep would be fleeting, but got some.
Got some. Okay. Well, you know, we had a great time, but I tell you, Ben, just another reason why I'm so content just staying put in my hometown. I mean, heading to the Distillery District in Toronto at 4:45 p.m. Just not so good. I mean, you were responsible and left a bit earlier, but took me about an hour and a half.
Oh, fair enough. But on the flip side, you left the distillery a few minutes before we did and missed a whole melee of them closing 2 lanes on the DVP. So,
okay,
checks and balances, I guess.
Did you do better or worse than an hour and a half commute from?
It was over an hour and a half, and considering we left around 10:30 or so, it was.
All right, you win.
Yeah. Well, no. I don't think that's winning. But
no, it's all right. Not good for either of us. Hey, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love Toronto, and I know that you do too, Ben. You even lived there for quite some time downtown, right? But that traffic is enough to make me want to stay put within the boundaries of our fair town. Of course, that and for all the other reasons that we discuss on this podcast. Am I right?
Of course. Yes.
Of course. So Ben, winter is in the air, and well, I guess I should point out it's not just in the air; it's on the ground. I did a Google before pushing record here, and that snowfall that we had in the first half of November was the earliest 10-centimeter accumulation in more than 50 years.
Wow.
So how about that?
That's incredible. It makes sense because I never remember snow before Remembrance Day.
Right. And here we are.
Yeah.
You got your snow tires on?
I did. As it was snowing, I was in the garage putting them on. It was a bit of a rush job. But
you are a more responsible adult than I am. We're working on it. Well, Ben, as the mercury drops and we brace ourselves for another Ontario winter, we've got the remedy because this episode warms the soul. What do you think of that segue?
Oh, boy.
Okay, I thought it was okay.
I like it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with it. Now, I don't have to tell you that this community has a lot of redeeming qualities, and that comes in many forms, right? We've got the land, the lake, the events, the businesses, the organizations, the people.
Yes.
Now, when you search the term community, I did a lot of Googling before this one. Do you know what comes up?
One of my favorite TV shows.
Yeah, actually, it was the top hit. Your favorite sitcom of the same name with Joel McHale, Chevy Chase, right? Of course. But if you scroll down a little bit further past that, you get to some definitions. And most of them revolve around something like a group of people with a common interest living in a particular area or within a larger society. And that's certainly true. But I think that most of us can appreciate another definition, which again was a little further down. And that is a state or feeling of caring about others in a group. And when we reference, as we often do, wanting to foster a sense of community with this podcast, I think that feeling is really what we're talking about. The stronger the sense of community, the greater the empathy, the greater the support, the stronger the connections, which itself becomes a kind of feedback loop that nurtures and grows the sense of community further. Hopefully that makes sense.
It does, yeah.
So there's an organization in our town that was founded on that feeling of caring about others. And it really defines its mandate and drives the work that it does. Ben, I'm talking about Georgina Cares. Now, according to their website, Georgina Cares puts it this way: grown from a need to help those in need in our community. The idea began as a way to lend a helping hand to Georgina residents who were going through a temporary situation. Now, I'd like to leave it there because our guest does a wonderful job of telling us exactly what that means for residents of our town. But I have to say, this one left me feeling pretty good.
I could see that. Yep.
All right. Well, what do you say, Ben? Would you like to learn more about Georgina Cares and the very special role that it plays in our town?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Here we go. It's my pleasure to welcome the president of Georgina Cares, Rob Grossi. Now, it's always good to welcome another Rob. Thank you for being on the YourTown Georgina podcast.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Rob. We typically go off of our scripted questions right out of the gate. And what we try to do is get to know a little bit more about you as a person and how you came to make Georgina your home. So that's my lead-off question. Can you tell us a little bit about your Georgina origin story? How did you come to be here?
Yeah, sure. Like many other people in this community, my family was born and raised in the city of Toronto. Mm-hmm. My grandfather came up here as a young man in the 1920s,
Yep.
and rented a cottage in and around the Island Grove area. Ended up buying some property there. So when I was born in 1953, and my brothers and sisters, we had a ready-made cottage that was my grandfather's cottage.
That's great.
So my brothers and sisters, 7 of us, and my mother and father came here, and I was a lover of all things Keswick and Georgina from my birth.
Wow. So it goes back that far.
Yeah. I was the paper boy in Eastbourne and Island Grove when I was growing up, and we used to go to the Island Grove store, and
Was the bowling alley there then too?
the bowling alley was there.
It was.
Yes,
I
the
missed
bowling
the
alley
bowling
was
alley.
great. Yeah, the Island Grove was a booming place back then. Tim Jacobs Jacobs had a store there.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Jacobs is the first player from the town of Georgina who played in the NHL.
That's amazing.
Played for the California Golden Seals, so we knew their family. And I loved it. My friends from my high school days were going to Muskoka and Lake Joe and places like that. But I was coming to this place on the south shore of Lake Simcoe called Keswick.
Yeah.
And they wondered, why? Was I crazy? Why would I not go to these other places?
Sure.
And I learned to swim in Lake Simcoe, have loved it ever since. And in the mid-'80s, met my wife, got married, and built our home in 1989 on Lake Drive. And we were, at that time, probably 80% of the population were summer cottagers.
Yeah, of course.
And
Sure.
today that's completely reversed. About 90% are full-time residents.
So true.
And we built our home, and we've lived there ever since.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing those origin stories, and again, it reinforces my love for this town. Of course, it's no secret, especially amongst longtime residents, that you've also been heavily involved in municipal politics and other aspects of our town for decades. As a longtime mayor, you've been regional councillor, and more recently, the Liberal candidate for York Durham. So, admittedly, we don't necessarily have time to dive into all that as much as I'd like to, but can I ask you, what's motivated you to stay so civically engaged all these years?
Gee, that's a great question. When I first moved up here permanently, I looked around me and I saw what sort of representation I had, and sat down with my wife and I said, I'd like to seek public office. I really hadn't thought about it before, but I said, I don't know whether I'm smart enough to be able to do that kind of work, but I said I'd like to give it a shot. And in 1991, I entered my first race as a local councillor. I spent 5 months knocking on every door within my ward, which was the Island Grove, Willow Beach area. And I was lucky enough to get, I think, about 60% of the vote, and served one term as a councillor. And then the story goes, I served 5 different terms as the mayor, another one as a regional councillor. Mm-hmm. I loved representing, and it's in my blood, loved representing the people of this community. I felt at the time we were frowned upon, we were looked down upon by many other communities. I wanted people to know that we were a great community, that we had lots of great attributes, and we had a lake.
Yeah.
Newmarket has Fairy Lake, I guess, something like that, but we have a lake. We have some great attributes in this community. We maybe didn't highlight them enough in the past. I think today what we found out is that people have discovered that Georgina is a great place.
No kidding.
And I don't want to take absolute credit, but I'll take a little bit of credit for going outside of this community during those 24 years and expressing to people what a great community it was and it still is.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, I've been here long enough to remember that reputation of Keswick as well. And in my mind, I always thought of it as the best kept secret. I mean, this is a lakefront town, so close to Toronto. I mean, it has so much to offer.
Yeah.
And so I'm completely aligned with what you're saying. And thanks for your efforts for spreading the good word. It's kind of like what this podcast is about too.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll just tell you one more thing. I would go to the arena, especially the last 5 or 6 years, and I would stand next to the boards. My kids are too old to participate anymore, but I'd stand there and I'd see a mom and dad and, you know, their child on the ice, and I would look at them and I would think, oh, they've been here not too long. And I would start up a conversation and I'd say, you know, where'd you come from before you came to Georgina? And they said, oh, you know, we were in Scarborough, or we were in Bowmanville, or we were somewhere else. And I'd say, well, how long have you been in Georgina? And they'd say, oh, we've only been here 2 years. And I'd say, whoa, gee, what did your friends say when you told them you were moving to Keswick or Georgina? And they would say, oh, you're crazy. Why would you end up there? I said, what do you tell them now? So we keep it a secret. We don't want too many more people here. So, exactly. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I will also say this, to circle back just a little bit. I mean, I like to stay kind of apolitical on this podcast, but I will say this. I have a lot of respect for those who give their time in support of the public good, of the public cause. And I thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, of course, today we're here really to put the focus on a very important Georgina organization, Georgina Cares. And I typically like to take the approach where we start big picture and then we sort of narrow that focus down, Rob. And so with that in mind, let me just ask you a simple question. What is Georgina Cares?
Well, Georgina Cares is a organization. Our motto is we help kids be kids. Started out from phone calls I used to get when I was the mayor to my office from people in the community saying, gee, did you know that so-and-so's family can't afford to have their child continue to participate in an event? The father had lost a job, or the mother, you know, wasn't working, they didn't have enough income, and they thought that I could help in some way, shape, or form. I couldn't. I was just an elected official. I didn't have access to those funds. So I thought to myself, how can I help in some way, shape, or form in the position that I'm in? And I thought, well, you know what? I know an awful lot of people. I know an awful lot of people that have some resources. Why couldn't I lean upon them to help out in some way, shape, or form and put it into an organization? And that became the emphasis for Georgina Cares.
That's great.
I brought together some people. There was a guy by the name of John Slykehouse, who was the editor of the Advocate.
Yeah.
John was a great guy, and I asked him if the Advocate could help out if we started this auction, because we needed something. You know, I couldn't just go up to people that I knew in the development industry or anywhere else and say, give me something or give me some money so I can help these people. I had to generate some way of doing that. So I got people like John Slykehouse, another one by the name of John Dusam, who was with what was called Trillium Cable. There used to be, the only cable in town was something called Trillium Cable, which came out of Port Bolster, of all places. There were a couple of people named the Goldens, Becky Golden, Dave Muir, who they were both with the hockey leagues in town. And I mentioned to them that I thought we could start something to help the kids in Georgina. Georgina was the name. Cares came out of, this goes on a little bit out of the ordinary, but there at the time in Vaughan, there was something called Vaughan Cares, and they were fighting against the landfill. And I liked the ring of Cares. So I stole that and used it for Georgina and called it Georgina Cares, brought all of them together. We sat down, and that was the beginning of Georgina Cares.
Oh, I'm sure nothing proprietary there. You know, where the statute of limitations is passed. No one's coming back after us. But good. I appreciate you sharing that. Actually, I knew John quite well. He was very supportive of my racing career back in the days.
He was a great guy. I love John.
He sure was. Well, I really appreciate that context. In fact, I was going to ask a follow-up, which was there a specific need or gap that needed to be addressed? But it seems like it sort of evolved organically from what you were exposed to in the conversation that you were having in your role.
And I realize, some people, look, every community has some way of helping each other. In those days, this community didn't have the resources that other communities had.
Okay.
So I didn't feel bad leaning on some people who I knew that had resources who were able to contribute. So that's where the starting of our auction came from. Was going to people in the community. It wasn't just me. There were other people that did it as well. Going to people in the community, business owners, and asking them if they could donate something that we could sell as part of an auction to raise money for Georgina Cares. And that was really the beginning of it. We still have some of those very same people who contribute on an annual basis. As a matter of fact, I don't have to go and ask them. They phone me and say, when's the auction? What can I give you?
Perfect.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I am going to circle back on that auction just a little bit later.
Okay.
And we're going to dive in a little bit more into explicitly to what Georgina Cares does. But before we get to that, can I keep it, again, high level for a little bit longer and ask you, what's the structure of Georgina Cares? Is there a board? How is it administered? Let me ask that.
Yeah, so right from the beginning, the hardest thing is to take money from people and use it in an appropriate fashion so that you're not questioned as to using it inappropriately.
Of course, yeah.
So we immediately, I leaned upon the fact that I was an elected official in Georgina, and we had some people who were high level in the accounting and in the legal profession. I leaned on them to volunteer their services so that we could create this entity that was to become the Georgina Cares Fund.
Okay.
They did that pro bono, and we started out registering, doing everything we needed to do, creating a board of directors, volunteer board of directors, and that's where it came from. The only paid employee that we always had was an administrator, someone who could answer the phone to the queries, make sure that we were known in the community. And so we pay a small percentage of the money that we raise every year to make sure that we are okay when it comes to doing things legally and answering the questions that we get continuously, and especially today.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot in the last few years.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's start to narrow the focus a little bit more. And if you could articulate, and we've touched on it a little bit from a couple of different angles, but the mandate of Georgina Cares, how would you describe the mandate of the organization?
Yeah, so we're I keep on saying this. I probably am saying it out of line, but I think we're the largest unfunded by government or any other source charity in York Region.
Wow.
Our motto is we help kids be kids, and it all started just from that. Johnny or Sally couldn't play hockey or couldn't go to dance classes because something had happened at home and they didn't have the resources to do it.
Sure.
And we expanded from there to our Compassionate Fund. Compassionate Fund sort of started about 5 years after the original fund, and it was because, we would hear these things in town where some family was just devastated because a child was sick and they had to go to Sick Kids Hospital.
Wow. Yeah.
It didn't matter, as far as we were concerned, whether they had the resources. The compassion of the community showed in everything that we did. And we would show up at the door with gift cards for gas and for parking and for food because we wanted to show the people that they weren't fighting this fight at Sick Kids alone. They were fighting with a community that wanted to support them. So we started the Compassion Fund. We still do that regularly. The last little while, there were a couple of fires, and one in Pefferlaw, one in Keswick. We want to show up the day after the fire. It doesn't matter whether there's insurance or anything else. We want to make sure that you have a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a new set of clothes, because you had a catastrophic event happen in your family. So that came out of it. And then we do scholarships. We wanted to make sure the kids that came out of this community that were going to further their education, we wanted to make sure that they had a little bit of something to help them along. So we give out $500, $1,500 scholarships every year.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you know what? It came at the beginning. Geez, if you had told me today we would be able to do what we're able to do, I would have said you were crazy. But, like I said, there are people in this community. They found us as a channel to focus on to help the community, and we're happy to do that.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've touched on kind of three different streams there: the Georgina Cares Fund, we have the Compassion Fund, as well as the Scholarship Fund as well, or opportunities. So, in terms of how people are selected for these opportunities, what is the process for applying to Georgina Cares and sort of determining how these funds are allocated?
Okay, so there's actually a few more, and I'll explain those as well. The Compassion Fund really is the way social media is today. We rely on finding out something through somebody, through one of our members of our board, or somebody, that something has happened. We also have a direct link to the fire department.
Yeah.
So Chief Jenkins is a friend of ours, and when something happens, he lets us know that there was a fire and there's people that are unhoused or they need something. We go to the high schools and let them know through their human resources departments that, these scholarships are available. I should tell you, though, that in the last few years, because we've been so successful and we've got so many great partners, we give to the food bank an amount every month.
That's great.
Over the course of the year. And every school in town now gets money at the beginning of the school year. We give it to the parent council, so that the parent council, if they see a need, unrelated to the school board and the school itself, but to the parent council and the needs of the school, that they can identify whether someone comes to school and they don't have a proper pair of boots, or someone wants to be on a field trip and they don't have the money to do it. And we let the parent council decide how that money should be spent. So it's amazing when we see at the end of the year, the parent council reports back to us, and we have 100 different ways that they've spent the money, but it's all for the good of the kids in the school.
That.
Yeah, so we're all over the place now, and we're always looking for other ways that we can help people in this community.
So I mean, I'm very much enjoying this conversation, hearing about some of the examples, and I might press you a little bit more. Are there any that stand out in terms of examples of how some of these funds from Georgina Cares have been used that we can share with our audience?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, a few years ago, and we still do it today, we had some young people in this community didn't have the resources, parents didn't have the resources, and they needed orthodontic work.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one, sure.
It's a big nut to crack.
Yeah.
And we started the conversation with the orthodontists after they had given the estimate of what it would cost, and the family would fall off their chair because they couldn't afford to do it.
Yeah.
And we would say, gee, how can we help? We have limits as far as how much money we want to give per year and whatever. And we talked as a board and decided, what, if we could persuade the orthodontist, to take a little bit of a bite out of their total bill.
Yeah.
And if we contributed, is there a way that it could happen? And the orthodontists were very good, and also said, there's one thing you have to do, though. The people that are going to get the benefit have to pay something.
Okay.
Because they said, we've done it in the past, and what happens is unless they've got some skin in the game, they don't really continue on the program. So we would sit down with the family, sit down with the orthodontist.
Best interest.
Yeah. And we would work out a way that the family could pay, maybe it was $50 a visit or $100 a visit.
Yeah.
And we would pay a substantial amount. The orthodontist would drop their bill a little bit. I'll tell you, from the day we would hear about an issue like that to when the child was finished with the orthodontic work, it would make you cry when you would see the kid's face smile for the first time in years, because we had helped in some way. So that's just, besides all the other stuff, that's one of those things that is just, you've done good when you see that smile.
That's pretty amazing. That's a great one. I'd be curious to know is because I'm not familiar with this type of setup. I mean, it's unique, at least from my perspective, and I'd be curious to know if there are similar organizations, maybe in other municipalities, or is Georgina Cares kind of unique in its mandate?
Yeah, I think we're sort of unique. We've had other municipalities come to us and say, "What exactly is this thing that you're doing up there that people are excited about?"
Yeah.
And we would explain it to them, and they would try to emulate it in their communities. And I know there's a couple of communities that have emulated it to some degree, but we're always revolving. If there's something new or something that we can do, and that's why, we have some other partners that are unbelievable. And, for example, Tim Hortons in their Smile Cookie program every year for the last I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 years, have called us and said, we'd like you to be our partner in the Smile Cookie program. Well, in other communities, it's usually a different charity. We don't accept any government funding, so we don't get anything from the province or the feds or the municipalities. And we decided to do that years ago. We didn't want to get awards for doing anything. We just wanted to do something as a compassionate group on behalf of the people in this community. So when Tim Hortons came along, we said, great. But I said, can I work the drive-through?
Attaboy.
And same thing with McDonald's. So McDonald's every year in communities, a lot of them give money to Ronald McDonald House, which is great. Here they decided years ago that they would split it. Half goes to Ronald McDonald House, and half or part of the proceeds would come to Georgina Cares. They still do it. There's a new owner in McDonald's in town this year, and he, as soon as he heard about it, I sat down with him and had a Big Mac, and we talked about it, and they're on board. So we have those guys. We have the Highwayman Motorcycle Club in Pefferlaw. Okay, now you would think the Highwayman Motorcycle. Here's these guys in leathers and riding their bikes around town. Phoned me up out of the blue a few years ago. This guy Sam, and Sam says to me, Rob, I really want to help your organization. I remember you a long time ago when you were an elected official, and we want to help your charity.
How great is that?
And now they drive around on their bikes, and these guys do poker runs and everything else, and then they hand me an envelope full of cash. Like, I know. No, Sam, I don't want
no
the
follow-up
cash.
questions, just an envelope of cash. It's going to go to a good cause.
Yeah, exactly.
So that certainly was one of my questions, because you did mention that it's you're not pulling government funding at any level for Georgina Cares. And so in terms of how you fund your work, it comes from a combination, I assume, of local communities, organizations, clubs, and individuals?
Yeah. The one problem that we do have, and we're going to try to see what we can do about it again, is we don't have CRA approval.
Okay.
We never went that route. We tried a couple of times, but we're a just-in-time type charity. When there's a fire on Friday and you want to be there on Saturday, we don't want to have to go through anything but an email string with our board of directors that says, yes, we're going to do this.
We're keeping the red tape at a minimum.
Yeah. So we always found that was a problem. We've had great board members who have responded to us just in time over the years. Our connection to Rogers TV, especially over the last 25 years, and Jim Anderson and Jen, and they were all part of our board for many years. That's been fundamental to our success as a charity in general.
That's really great. Okay, so a few moments ago, a little while back, you'd mentioned this auction, and I'm curious. I need to know more about this. I'll be candid. I mean, I was on the website, I did a little poking around, but I need to hear it from you. Tell us about the auction.
So the auction came out, so I'm not sure if it's 28 or whatever. There was something called the Georgina Community Resource Center.
Okay.
Over 30 years ago in town. They disbanded. One of the things that they had is they had an annual auction on Trillium Cable.
Right.
And when they disbanded, they never had it. And that's where I mentioned a gentleman by the name of John Dusson.
Okay.
I phoned John and I said, hey, that auction you did for the GCRC, can I use it for my new charity called Georgina Cares? He said, sure, Rob, we can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
They were pretty kind to me back then. I don't know why. And sure enough, we started. We did it out of the Port Bolster studio with a bunch of items and made a couple of $1,000.
That's great.
Out of our first auction. Right now, we're a pretty sophisticated organization. We partnered. Rogers TV is still a great partner. Jeremiah and Johnny Russell, who does some of our technical work now, and the others that worked in the past. We put together an auction that runs from 11:30 till 6 o'clock. On this year, it's on November the 30th.
November the 30th. Okay.
November the 30th, and we'll be on air. We're also on YouTube. We're all connected every way you can.
Great.
And people will bid on anything from a pair of hockey tickets to an oil change.
Okay. So and just so I'm clear, and how do they do that? So how do they actually register their bids? Are they just simply calling in? Or they how does that work?
Yeah, they're calling in.
Okay.
That's a little bit of a challenge, but that's the way we've done it. And,
Yeah, sure.
As we go forward, if we have the ability going forward to do something different. So what happens is we publish the list, and it used to be in the Advocate, and that's where John Slyko's came in.
Sure, okay.
Now it's in the Georgina Post. Anderson. Sure. He helps us out, and we get it published in the Georgina Post, and then people watch that day. And
Right.
a lot of times what happens, and it's become a fundamental day for some people, it's the day that they put up their Christmas decorations, or they sit around the house and they have a family gathering, and they turn on the TV and they laugh at us because we have a lot of fun auctioning this stuff off.
No doubt.
And they pre-dial their phone, and they phone us. We have 8 different lines that are in the studio.
That's great.
At the Rogers studio in the Ice Palace. And they phone up and they bid on everything. Like I said, we have, again this year, we've got hockey tickets, Raptors tickets. We've got lots of different stuff.
Well, I think that was one of my questions, because there's one opportunity to bid. I assume there's also an opportunity to donate items for bid.
Yeah, well, so the last couple of months, Sharon, who you've met, Sharon Mackey, she is our administrator.
Great.
She is contacting people in the town who have donated to us before, or anybody else. And I'm like a little bit of the hitman. So I show up at the business, and whether it's Canadian Tire or Sutton Home Hardware, Keswick Home Hardware, or anybody else, I show up and, hey, I'm here. Do you have anything for the auction? And I can tell you, when I go to those places, I sort of feel bad sometimes because they're loading my car up with stuff, and I'm going, no, I want other people to help contribute. And they go, Rob, we love what you do.
This is great.
It's a great organization. Take this, sell it, whatever you can get for it. And some of them now, they say, you know what? Why don't I just give you a check? So they'll give me a check, and then we'll put it into the proceeds for the auction. So, but you know what? If anybody out there has something that they feel that they would like to donate to the auction, we'll sell it any way we possibly can, and use those funds to help kids be kids.
Okay, well, we are getting a little bit closer to the end, Rob, and I wanted to have you articulate, and we've looked at this in a couple of different ways, but you've been a longtime resident of this town. You've been very involved in this town throughout your time here, and I'm curious, why do you think this organization is important to our community and its residents?
That's a great question, and I think probably because I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, is that people in this community, sometimes it's tough to show how compassionate you are. People, want to help out. They want to contribute. Things have changed now. You have GoFundMes and things like that. People want to help out, and they look for something that they know has some value and that it's going to go to their community.
Yeah.
So when I go to a store and they say we're collecting money for some program that I know isn't a local program, I'll often say to them, do you know what Georgina Cares is? And a lot of them will say no, and I'll say, well, I appreciate what you're doing, but I want people to understand that if you really want to support your own community, I can tell you Georgina Cares is what's supporting your community.
It's a direct application,
It's the guy next door. You don't know him. He, unfortunately today you don't know him as much as you should, but his daughter just got sick and she's going to Sick Kids Hospital. And what are you going to do? You can go to Todd's, buy some food, drop it off at his door, or you can do something else, or you can contribute an item to our auction, or just make a direct contribution to Georgina Cares, and we'll be happy to help out. I
really love this. Rob, I have to ask, if people want to learn more about or support Georgina Cares, where should we direct them?
The website, probably.
Okay, that's the best starting point.
And Sharon Mackey. I'll give you my telephone number is, I published it during every campaign, so it's out there anyways. So I'm 905-967-4477. If people want to ring that telephone continuously for the next couple of weeks.
You're a true public servant, Rob.
I'll answer it. I mean, it's important to me because I'm a very lucky man. Lucky in my life with my family, lucky with my community and the kind of support that I have. My mother once said to me, she said, "Robbie, you got two hands. You got one to help yourself and one to help everybody else. Don't ever forget to use that other hand to help somebody else."
Words to live by. Words to live by.
Yeah. So, and it's not only, my wife is a huge contributor to this community, and she's been with me step by step through every year.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think it's a political statement to say thank you for all the work that you continue to do. We talked a little bit off air before we pushed record, and it really dates back to I was in high school when I first became aware of kind of your role in our town, and I want to thank you for that continuous work, but also specifically in the context of Georgina Cares. This is a special one, and I set the stage and the tone for what this podcast is about, certainly in the first episode, and I try and reinforce that in each, that it's really about celebrating our town, but also to make that sense of community a little bit more tangible. And I can think of a few better examples than the work that Georgina Cares does. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you know what? We are very lucky to live in a community. And for those people that are arriving in this community and find out that there's an organization like Georgina Cares, I think for some of them, they're a little bit surprised because it's a little bit old school. It's a little bit, the neighbor next door type of organization. And that's why I think we're so successful with the business people who've decided to adopt us and invest in what Georgina Cares is all about.
Rob, thank you so much for educating us on the great work of Georgina Cares, and thank you kindly for being on the YourTown Georgina podcast.
Listen, this is fantastic. Thank you. I wish you had been around when I was in politics, because could have explained a lot of things better.
Fair. It's a helpful medium in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
thanks again.
You're welcome.
Well, Ben, how did you like learning about Georgina Cares?
That was really interesting.
Pretty good one, eh?
Yeah.
And honestly, kind of fun having Rob Grossi on. I mean, he's our first former mayor, right?
Yeah.
But very much involved in our town for a lot of the time that I've obviously been here. I didn't mention it during our recording. I did actually remind Rob of this when he did show up to our little studio here, that we first met back in 1994 during his very first mayoral race.
That's right.
And as I mentioned, we stay apolitical, so I will point out, and this is no reflection of Rob's position or otherwise, but I was taking OAC or grade 13 like politics at the time, and they wanted us to get involved in the municipal election in some way, and so I thought, okay, well maybe I'll scrutineer for one of the candidates, and I chose Rob, and so that's how it started. Of course, he won that mayoral race, and subsequent terms after that, of course, but it was kind of fun full circle to welcome him here to our podcast.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. But let's get to it. I mean, Georgina Cares, of course, began in 1996 with the original fund being the Georgina Cares Fund, as Rob alluded to, and of course that evolved into the Compassion Fund and the scholarship program as well. But the red thread that connects all three is that it's really all about the kids. I mean, if a parent suddenly loses their job and the purse strings are tight, then Georgina Cares is an organization that can step in and potentially cover the costs of hockey. So the kids, they can keep playing and not feel the full effects of what the family is going through. Or, if there's a sudden emergency or life-altering event to a family that has kids, well, Georgina Cares can be there to assist. And of course, there's those high school kids that may need some extra help taking that next step in their education. And for them, the scholarship fund is there. I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff, right?
It really is. And I love one of the lines he said. It was one of the first things he said about it was just letting kids be kids.
Yeah.
And, I look at my two little ones, as you know, I have two kids under 5, and I couldn't imagine them not being able to enjoy life and just live it free and easy. And that's, why we work so hard to provide for our kids. So it's just wonderful there's that support for people who maybe need that little bit of help.
That's really well said. I mean, with all of the stuff that goes on in life and the curveballs that we get thrown, the reality is we'd like to think that kids can just be kids, and it's such an important time in life, and
fleeting,
and it goes so fast. And if there's a way that we can potentially insulate them from some of those more, what are sometimes termed adult problems, I think that's a pretty good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that Rob mentioned that stood out. I mean, first, the fact that they're wholly privately funded, meaning that rather than taking grants, for example, from federal, provincial, or municipal programs, it's local businesses and individuals that fund the Georgina Cares programs.
Yeah, and the largest charity of that type in York Region.
Yeah, that's quite a feather in the cap, right? And, in terms of operating that way, it allows them to really execute their efforts with a higher degree of efficiency and really be, as Rob alluded to, the first on the ground after the fire is put out. They can kind of be where they need to be when time really counts. And I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
But also, if you're looking to directly support the Georgina community, all donations and support have a direct positive impact on your neighbors. That is the families and specifically the children of Georgina. Sometimes we can be a little unsure where our donated dollar ends up and how it's used. But through Georgina Cares, you can have an immediate and direct positive impact on your community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those gift cards are going right to them right after the fire, as he was one of my favorite examples of his.
Yeah. Actually, Rob gave some really good examples, but if you are having a bad day and you want to turn it around, you can just go on the Georgina Cares website, georginacares.ca, and they've documented some great examples of their work and also their supporters.
Oh, great. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked that he discussed was that other communities have come and almost treating this as a blueprint for their own, to help out those within their own communities. So I thought that was fantastic, that not only is it doing good here, but it'll have a ripple effect through other communities as well.
That's a great one. It already feels good, but it kind of amplifies it, knowing that perhaps it acts as inspiration and how many other kids might be positively impacted because of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, well said. Well, thanks again to Rob Grossi for giving us his time. I hope you enjoyed learning about Georgina Cares and the amazing work that they do. And don't forget, the Georgina Cares auction is right around the corner on Sunday, November 30th. You can follow them on Instagram or Facebook to get a sneak peek at the auction items and watch live on Rogers TV or stream it on YouTube at rogerstv.com. You'll be able to call in during the auction to place your bid. It's pretty fun stuff.
It looks like it. Yeah, or it sounds like it.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, of course, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And, of course, subscribe. And if you like what you hear, rate and review us and help us get the word out about this great town. With that, let's turn it over to our good friend Bernadette Connors. We'll see you next time.
I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a lady of the lake. I learned to drive on a dirt road, and I got all it takes. I see myself in the water, and my footprints in the sand. The moon can push and pull the tide, but this is where I stand. Georgina, I could never really leave ya. I've been all around the world and still you bring me back again. Georgina, I've got friends in the city. They've got a tower and everything. I tried it out for a little while, but where you don't have roots, you can't grow wings. Georgina, I could never really leave ya. I've been all around the world and still you bring me back again. Georgina, when I'm gone I dream ya. Late at night, later on, you're always on my mind. Georgina, should I stay or should I go? I'll always be scared of the great unknown. I see myself in the water, I see myself in the water. Georgina, you know I could never leave you. I've been all around the world and still you bring me back again. Georgina, oh, do you know how much I need you? I'll always be a small town girl. You always will be mine. Georgina, 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 Georgina.